Hey everyone, let's just jump right in. Today, we are exploring a really fascinating explainer that weaves together folklore, magical realism, and honestly, a deeply satisfying lesson on karma. We're mentally transporting ourselves to the traditional village of Ratanpur. The sources we're analyzing today outline a beautifully classic narrative, a kahani, that explores what actually happens when unwavering human integrity gets pushed to its absolute limits. I absolutely love unpacking stories like this because the structure we're looking at today brings the moral architecture of the tale right to life.
Which brings us to our core conflict. What happens when absolute poverty meets unchecked greed? Our explainer today is basically a masterclass in contrasting the absolute best and the absolute worst of human nature. Desperation and honesty colliding head-on with wealth and total moral corruption.
Let's look at the sheer juxtaposition between our two main characters. On one hand, we have Ramu and his wife Sarla. They're living in this crumbling mud hut, literally surviving on just simple salt and roti. But despite working day and night in his small field, Ramu is entirely, unfailingly honest. On the other hand, we have Sethfarilal. He represents immense wealth, but he is a ruthless, cunning landlord who uses deceit to actively exploit the poorest people in Ratanpur.
And the scale of this abuse of power is just wild. Our sources detail a heartbreaking interaction where Ramu actually manages to pay back his debt to the Seth, but the ruthless Harilal decides to extort him anyway. He demands 5 times the original interest rate just for a minor delay. 5 times. And he doesn't stop there. He threatens to completely destroy Ramu's life, seizing his home, his cooking pots, his bullock cart, the whole shebang if he doesn't pay up this impossible sum.
Section 1. The Landlord's Wicked Scheme.
So Sethfarilal isn't just satisfied with squeezing the life out of poor farmers, he actually sets his sights on something much larger and way more dangerous: the gold and silver jewelry kept in the village temple. Following this timeline, we see his sinister plot perfectly mapped out. At midnight, the Seth and his servant, Kalu, sneak into the temple and steal the sacred jewelry. But at 1 a.m., in the pitch black, a mysterious black cat silently witnesses the entire crime. Then morning breaks. The village is in a total uproar over the theft. And who does the Seth point his finger at? Yep, Ramu. Because Ramu takes the shortest path to his fields every morning, walking right past the temple, he becomes the absolutely perfect, defenseless scapegoat.
The outcome is completely devastating. The manipulated crowd turns on him, shouting, "Throw him out! He has no right to live in our village." Despite Ramu and Sarla's tearful pleas of innocence, the angry mob just refuses to listen. They banish the couple entirely, forcing them out of Ratanpur to live in a broken, abandoned hut surrounded by this thorny wasteland. They are left with absolutely nothing.
Ramu is at rock bottom. It really leaves us wondering, how can a banished, penniless farmer possibly prove his innocence? His wife is physically weakening from starvation. He realizes that crying over his fate isn't going to save them. He has to find the real thief. So, leaving Sarla locked safely in the ruined hut, he heads deep into the treacherous forest, basically searching for a miracle.
Section 2. A Magical Feline Witness.
This is where our social drama beautifully transitions into magical realism. Exhausted and hungry, Ramu encounters a mystical sadhu, a holy man with a long beard and this radiant aura, who gives him a seemingly impossible quest. Step 1. Go even deeper into the forest. Step 2. Find a cursed black cat. The sadhu reveals that this specific animal is literally the only living creature that witnessed the true identity of the temple thief. And step 3. Win her trust. The sadhu tells Ramu that his pure heart and honest eyes are his greatest weapons here. If he can just find her and show her his true nature, she'll help him. So Ramu searches until dusk, almost losing hope entirely, until he spots eyes glowing like hot embers in the dark. He pleads with the black cat, pouring out his heart and his innocence. Suddenly, the cat's eyes flash brightly, and she actually speaks. In a clear human voice, she validates his truth right then and there. "Ramu, you have suffered a great injustice. The real thief is the Seth."
The very next morning, Ramu brings the talking cat straight into the center of the village. She publicly accuses Sethfarilal and his servant, instructing the villagers to search the Seth's mansion. And guess what? The villagers find the stolen jewelry hidden exactly where she promised. The cowardly Seth immediately tries to blame his servant, but the damage is done. His reputation is destroyed, Ramu's name is completely cleared, and he's welcomed back to the village with full honor.
Section 3. The Apsara's Golden Reward. But getting his reputation back was really only the beginning for Ramu. Karma wasn't quite done balancing the scales yet. See, an Apsara is a celestial nymph from heaven, and our sources describe this incredible visual. As Ramu is thanking the cat, a blinding light suddenly surrounds her. In a flash, she transforms into a stunning, heavenly Apsara. She reveals she had been cursed to live as an animal on Earth, and the only way to break that curse was to find and help a genuinely honest human being. So Ramu's unwavering integrity didn't just save himself, it actually freed her.
In return, she grants him an unbelievable boon. She directs him to a magical tree hidden deep in the forest near a red flower plant. Its branches are heavy with glowing golden fruits. But here's the catch. Only a truly honest and compassionate person can pluck the fruit. She promises Ramu that eating it will completely erase his debts and bring him instant prosperity.
Ramu finds the tree, respectfully asks permission, and eats a golden fruit. By the time he walks back to his village, his reality has completely done a 180. His old life of starvation and the crumbling mud hut, gone. In its place is a beautiful mansion with endless grain. But, and this is super important to take away from this explainer, Ramu doesn't let the wealth corrupt him. Not at all. He still wears his simple clothes, and he keeps his doors wide open, generously sharing his endless food with any villager in need. Section 4. The Price of Greed.
Of course, in a story about karma, every action has a reaction. Consumed by total jealousy over Ramu's sudden prosperity, the Seth's arrogance leads him right into a fatal trap. First, he has his servants spy on Ramu to discover the secret of the magical tree. Step 2. They locate it out in the forest. But at step 3, instead of asking respectfully, the Seth demands the fruit by force, claiming his status just entitles him to it. When the magical tree refuses to drop a single piece of fruit, the Seth moves to step 4. He angrily orders his servant to chop the heavenly tree down with an axe.
But the tree is the ultimate judge here. It actually speaks back to the wicked landlord, declaring, "I only give my fruit to those with compassion. Your heart is filled with greed." It acts as the final jury and executioner of the Seth's lifelong wickedness, his extortion and his cruelty to the poor.
The consequence is instant, absolute. The very moment the servant's axe strikes the sacred wood, sparks fly. The sky goes completely dark, and a sudden, violent lightning strike crashes down from the heavens. The greedy Seth and his servant are turned to ashes right on the spot. Bam! Divine justice is served, permanently removing the source of corruption from the village.
Okay, let's pull all of this together and look at the core takeaways of this kahani. Honesty triumphs over deceit in the end, no matter how bleak things look. True wealth isn't the gold hidden in the temple, it's having a pure heart like Ramu. Greed and arrogance, like we saw with the Seth, act as a poison that will absolutely destroy the greedy. And finally, kindness and resilience, even in the face of total banishment, will always attract positive or even divine intervention.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. If you stood before the magical tree today, right in the middle of that dark forest, would your heart be pure enough to receive a golden fruit, or would the tree see something else? It's a pretty powerful reflection on our own daily integrity, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me as we unpack this incredible source material. I really hope it sparked your curiosity as much as it did mine. Until next time, keep learning and keep asking the big questions.